The next project is Chawan, which means tea bowl in Chinese. So cha is for tea and wan is for bowl. And this is it's kind of an idealized shape here. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but the main characteristic of a chawan, at least as I understand it, is you've got relatively straight sides. They could be a lot more textured than what this particular example is, but at the foot, your foot goes in quite far with a normal chawan. You can see how tiny that is down there. I'll even zoom in. It is nicely finished, but this is all about comfort for holding the tea bowl in your hand when you're drinking tea in Chinese or Japanese tea ceremony. And so that's the shape, and now I'm going to demonstrate on the wheel how we make this shape. So the next project is a 1 pound chawan or tea bowl. And I talked about this, how the bottom is quite a small bottom. You can see it's nicely trimmed. And that's supposed to be comfortable to hold in your hand like this. You could even maybe have your fingers go on opposite sides of that. But that's the classic tea bowl shape. And they're supposed to be really smooth inside because these are for preparing of a tea beverage called matcha, which is a green powdered substance, and it gets whisked inside. So you want the sides to be smooth so that you get a good whisking action and you don't wear out your whisk in the process. So I'll set that aside, and I have 1 pound of prepared clay. This has all been wedged up for me, and it's ready to go. So here we go. And we'll just get this centered up real quick. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and we're done. Clean up the wheel head a little bit. And then we'll open. I guess this is the plunge. There's a plunge and an open. Plunge first. Establish our depth. And then I've done this a lot of different ways. You can stretch like this. I tend to, especially with small shapes, I tend to just kind of push my fingers over a little bit. You're not really opening very far, just about, well, this one I'm doing about 2.5 inches of opening. Again, this is a vertical shape, so we will kind of start it moving up and in, and then make sure that we work on our lip before we commence with the pulling. All right, so now we'll go ahead and do a pull. Now there are several videos on YouTube that show different Chinese masters or Japanese masters, I guess, working on these shapes, and it's almost shocking to watch how haphazard they are. They're actually almost deliberately trying to make the shape have flaws in it. Japanese have their guiding philosophy is that inanimate objects have souls and character, so they really want to do things that will give character to their shapes, and sometimes that means, you know, they're a little bit irregular. I have a hard time making irregular shapes, so that's just my quirk. Work on that lip a little bit. Now I'm realizing I've got this a little bit too tall and slender, so the next pull I'm going to pull it out a little bit. And I'm actually going to dig quite deep here. You've got to start getting that inward curve at some point. Just drying up the inside. And we're going to really go deep here. And then on this pull, I'm pulling outward. And then at a certain point, I'll go more straight up. All right, that's getting there. We're going to, we want that bottom part to really go in even more than what you see. So you can try using tools on this. I kind of like that. Really push that in. And then I'm going to try to pull this out more at the bottom and up with more or less straight walls. And I think I can, I've got enough material here to do even one more pull. So let me see what I can do with a pull before I go to the shaping. Get a couple drops of water on there. And I'm going to see if I can start the pull by pushing out, get some more width on this, and then we'll go up from there. All right. Now I'm not leaving the lip as fat as I sometimes do, but this lip is just a little bit fat. But again, always go back and smooth it up, no matter what it looks like. Dry out the inside a little bit. Okay, now, in order to really dramatize this shape better, I'm going to use my shaping rib, my bottle tool, and I'm going to get in there and try to move the whole sidewalls out a little bit. Starting to drag the rib. So you can see I put a real wobble into it by too aggressive of ribbing, but that's okay, I'll straighten it up. Trying to get this sidewall now to come more or less straight up. And it won't be perfect. All right. Now, something I haven't discussed much is fingerprints versus no fingerprints. You can see the lines that go around this. Let's just talk about if you wanted to take those lines out, using some kind of a rib is a good idea. So we have wooden ribs here. What happens if we just really want to get straight sidewalls? We can take the long flat side of this rib and just kind of press that in, and when we do that, the finger marks, well, they're not totally going away, but they're quite a bit going away. If I keep at this, I should be able to make a much smoother wall than what you see with those original finger marks. All right, and I actually kind of like that. Now, what we see down here at the bottom, you can see I've got this, I don't even know what you call that. It's an overhang, I guess. I've got that started. I'm going to make that even more dramatic when I trim. I've got a little bit, I can trim this up a little bit so that, you know, the overhang starts a little higher. A limited amount, you can't totally change it, but because the bottom is the bottom. but I can definitely make that look more dramatic when I do the trimming. And I probably will do some additional trimming examples. So the last thing I want to do is use my sponge. It's well wrung out, and I kind of fold it in half like this, and then just go in and try to very gently make a very smooth lip. All right, and I see that I made some marks on the bottom when I was doing the ribbing, so I'm just going to take my sponge and see if I can smooth that out a little bit. And that looks a little better. So that is the throwing part of Chawan, or tea bowl. So thank you for watching.